Alright, let's draw this custom Pikachu. Let's get started right away. Alright, hopefully you have a big POSCA marker and an old code card, because that's how I made this one. And you put POSCA all over the code card. You might have to do it 2 or 3 times to get some good coverage. It's still, some of the old stuff is going to show through, but that's okay. This is going to be a fun card, and you can use it as a prize card or give it to your best friend. But let's get into it. Alright, I'm going to use these Prismacolor liners for black, and I'm going to use POSCA for the color. Alright, first things first, I'm going to choose this number 3, and I'm going to make a line across here so I can name him Rabid Pikachus, because that just sounds right for this card. And there's my line. And now I'm going to switch back to my pencil, and I'm going to start sketching him in. And because this is a custom, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just get around near, you can get around or near the approximate shape. So let's start with this ear that's the tallest right here. And it kind of starts about there, kind of comes down like this, and it has this, kind of like that. And then there's a space here for his head, and then this other ear comes up, also kind of pointy, kind of like that. It's not perfect, but we'll just do that for now. This comes out a little more, and there's a bump for the top of his head, and a big old bulgy eye right there, and another eye about right there, and his nose is going to be there. His face comes down, and I'm going to leave like a space here for that mouth. And then kind of like the top of his head comes down like this. And then it's a little bit of a body right here, and then his tail comes out like lightning. Bzz, 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 bzz. Is yours making electronic staticky noises while you're drawing yours? Something like that. And then he's got the leg, comes almost straight down and makes a foot like that. The bottom of his body going to his other foot. He's got the claws out here. And then there's like a U here in the front, upside down U. And then his other foot is going to have claws about like that. It really is that easy. So let's start. Let's get a pen, a liner, and I'm going to get my favorite Tombow that I like to use. This Tombow soft tip liner. And I'm going to go over pencils that we just did, pencil lines that we just did. So I'm going to go back. My card, you're going to find out that when the POSCA dries, it might bend your card just a little bit, but you can tell it to do what you want, lay down flat. All right, so I'm going to start with this ear again, like this. And then this one, like that. And then this ear, kind of like that. Make sure that eyeball bulges out. Get that a little rounder as I go with the pen. Oops. And then his nose is right there. And then we'll get the front of his face like that. I'm going to not do the mouth yet. Come back here to this, a little bit of his head here. Kind of comes around. Boop. And just follow the pencil line that you made. About like that. All right. So let's start putting a little bit of color on that. A little POSCA shake. And I'm going to start up here, his ears, this ear, whole body all the way. His tail's going to be black. So it won't do that yet. Made his feet black, so it won't get there yet. Get it around his eyes like that. Alright, how's yours coming along? There's a little piece of something there. Alright, I'm going to try to get a little more white out. You can go 2 times speed on this section if you want to. Or just color it and skip ahead when we do the next little bit of detail. Let's do his eyes next. Alright, let's let that yellow dry. I'm going to get the red POSCA, give it a good POSCA shake. Let's get those eyes in. I wonder what would happen if we leave a little space in the center. Let's do that and see how it turns out. We can fill it in if we don't like it. Okay, I'm going to let that red dry. And let's get some black. Black POSCA. Let's get his tail and his ears. Let's start to do his feet. Alright, tail first. I think mine is still making a little bit of an electricity sound bzz, 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 while I'm coloring it in. Bzz, bzz. I want to stay in the lines as best I can. About like that. Ears. This other ear. I'm going to make a little bit of just a curved foot like this, not very big. And then another little bit of a foot right here in the front. And we'll make claws coming out of that. Same with this one. About like that. Okay, and while all of that's drying, I'm going to get a little more yellow and fill in where I didn't quite get where I wanted. Down to here, all the way down to here. A little more like that. Okay, and the fun part is coming right up because we're going to do his mouth next. Okay, so I'm going to switch back to my favorite Tombow pen. And the way that I do the mouth is I just see how I've left a little room there and the edges are kind of sharp. That's about how I want to do this Custom Pikachu's mouth. I'm not necessarily putting teeth in, I'm just making a space like that. Like this. Just about like that. We'll come back and do a little more. Okay, and let's see if this one, I'm going to switch to a different pen. I'm going to switch back to this number 3 to make the claws on the feet. About like that. I like that. About like that. There we go. you're an artist. You can adjust the foot to be a little bigger and adjust it so that the claws are smaller or bigger. Just like that. There we go. All right, so the next part of getting the mouth like that is gray. Let me get some gray. And we're going to go rawr, oh, like this, so we can have a little bit of a mean mouth. And it doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to put more black and more white inside there. And that's about it, just like that. Okay. So now I'm going to switch over to what I call the shadow markers. These are also Tombow. And we're going to do some shading like we did here. I'm going to get a medium dark one, which is about 55, number 55, and that's a medium dark. And we'll try to do a similar shading in this one as we did with this one. So let's get started with the ears. There's some shading up here. Definitely some shading here. Shading here. I'm just going to be quiet, and you follow along. You get shading where you want it to go. About like that. How's your shading coming along? You can use the shading to fill in some of the places where we didn't quite get enough ink in his tail or his body. And then get a little shading around to give his body some shape. Look at those eyes are already starting to look like they're bulgy. That's kind of cool. All right. Let's do some more work in those eyeballs. Let's get a white POSCA and get some dots. Just some small dots like that, random. We'll let that dry. We'll come back with some black, and then let's get his mouth a little bit more like this, so it just looks like slobbery and a mess. Like that. And it just can be random. Oh, just about like that. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a lighter shading marker and go underneath his body now. So back to the Tombows. And now I'm going to use a number 75, which is a little bit lighter. I'm going to make a horizon line about like right here, like that. And I'm going to start gently doing a little shading. And when you start with a light color, it allows you to come back a couple layers or get a dark color. Shading, when you shade, it'll make your card pop a little bit better, give it a little bit of depth, and it's a little bit cooler. All right, here's that. I'm going to use a little bit of shading, the lighter shading, to enhance some of this. Let's see what happens. Go around my shading a little more. That. Just to give it a little more depth. See what happens. And that's what you do as an artist. Sometimes you just let's see what happens. I'm going to get my black liner and fix that nose a little bit. I want it to be a little more dark. There we go. And while I'm here, I'm going to put some black dots in his eyes like that. Yeah, I like how the little white dot in the center turned out. Just about like that. You like how yours is coming along so far? And now I'm going to finish up the mouth and get a little more like this. There's some straight lines. Like this out of the top. And then a little bit of like jagged, curvy lines coming out of the bottom of his mouth. Like it's dripping. Maybe all the way down here, so it's a mess. About like that. So maybe some dots here. And maybe a couple dots here and there on his body to give it some texture in the shadows of his body. Sometimes just adding a few dots or lines here and there can really make your drawing pop and look cool than what you thought was possible. All right, I'm going to come back to this 55 Tombow and give a little more shading underneath. Not as much, just a little random lines like this. His tail comes up like that, so maybe we can make that tail shadow like this. All right, how's that going? Is there any couple more places? I want to put a little more yellow with the POSCA. Just like this. Kind of looks like fur a little bit. Kind of gives it a little more depth if you do it just like that. Just some random places. We're getting pretty close to being done. Maybe a couple little yellow dots here on the ground. What do you think? You like how yours is coming along? Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's write Rabid Max at the top, because that's what the name of this card is. Rabid Max. Back to this pen, my Tombow pen. Let's see if I can get that printing the same as I did last time. R A B. Just about like that. Can you make an A like that? Some people can't. It takes a little bit of practice. Rabid, and then like a big fat R. And then Max coming out of the R, like M. A. X. And I think we'll call it. There you go. Well, let's see if we can get some of those pencil lines erased out. I don't know how well that'll erase out of the... Let's see if we can get that. And if we can't get it, I'll show you a trick to do. I'll show you anyway, even if we can't get it. Okay, I'm going to be real careful because I don't want to smear my ink. Let's get that. All right, so if you had a space in the white like that, just get your white POSCA. We're going to really carefully try to get that pencil marks to go away. right there. Looks like we got it. And then how about this one right here? We get that one too, and we can do this one a little better. That's the neat thing about POSCA, is that you can go back over and you can redo a section if you don't like how it turned out. And even like his tail, there's a little pencil line right there. That. There's a couple more, but I'm not going to do them now. You can do yours. All right. Thank you for drawing. Thank you for drawing this Rabid Pikachu with me. Thanks for being a part of the Rabid Pikachus. Please subscribe, because we're going to do another lesson, maybe today, definitely tomorrow. Thanks for watching.